All right, new segment. Quick note for our full show viewers and listeners. This is now a new day. So you just listened to the weekend content. Now we start a new day and we look at what the reaction has been to the No Kings protest that we talked about earlier in today's show. And it has been, in some cases, funny, in some cases just unhinged. I'll show you the video that I'm sure you've seen by now that sent the internet ablaze here in a second. But first, Trump was asked about the wildly successful No Kings protest, meaning peaceful across the country from all I've seen. And if not, maybe there were some edge cases, but millions of people peacefully protesting and making their voices heard. And if nothing else, that serves as a symbolic reminder that you and I are not alone in our outrage. And I think that's powerful. I've seen a lot of op-eds swirling, like, this didn't really do anything. What was that for? And there's always going to be strategic critiques, like, should there be more specific demands, as if Trump would listen to our demands. But I actually felt a level of hope, as I explained when covering initially the protests, in its symbolism and in its unity energy. But Trump says it was just a joke.
What is your response to the protest?
Who are you with?
I'm with the AP.
With AP?
What's your response to the protest over the weekend, the No Kings protest this year?
I think it's a joke. I looked at the people. They're not representative of this country. And I looked at all the brand new signs paid for, I guess it was paid for by Soros and other radical left lunatics. It looks like it was. We're checking it out. The demonstrations were very small, very ineffective, and the people were whacked out. When you look at those people, those are not representative of the people of our country.
Mr. President,
What's that even mean? Real ugly people, not our country. Actually, I think we can imagine one way he's thinking of them not being representative. But no, it's actually impossible to say that, because there were people of every different identity group, of every different racial group, of every different background at these protests. And he makes it out to sound like they were really small. They weren't. They were one of the largest nationwide protests in American history, and larger than anything we saw in Trump's first term and anything that we've seen in Trump's term so far. So, of course, he has to then lean on this dumb talking point that this was all paid for, which, what does that even mean? Like, do you think millions of people are being paid? What they mean is that the No Kings organization will get donations. And I'm sure there are wealthy people donating because they support the cause to help with the organizational side of things, getting the stages built for speeches. But millions of people on their own will showing up to those events, trying to wave that all away as something then you're going to investigate is not just scary, but it's also dumb.
besides San Francisco,
By the way, I'm not a king. I'm not a king. I work my ass off to make our country great. That's all it is. I'm not a king at all.
I almost thought he was going to say, I work my ass off to become a king, and I still am not one. Every time he says it like he's irritated. I'm not a king. I try so hard, and I'm still not. How dare they mock the fact that I haven't gotten there yet. Now, this was the video that got everyone talking, because not only was it insane and, again, just a visual reminder of Trump's lack of respect for anyone who doesn't support him, but also a lot of the commentators you see are personal friends of Harry Sisson, who's in this video. So it's like a weird bubble being popped where all of a sudden the president of the United States is posting a video of just our friend Harry Sisson being literally crapped on. And that's kind of it finally brings one of these things so close to home that the absurdity of it isn't out there. It's right here. He's pooping on Harry Sisson. That's where we are now. Look at this. Is there no video or audio? Well, you'll still see the imagery. So he's in a plane, and then a bunch of what looks like poop comes out. There's Harry getting pooped on. And then people in Times Square are getting pooped on. Trump posts this. The president of the United States posted a video of himself dumping sewage or poop on to protesters. Now, the point that friend of the show Josiah brought up was, imagine if Biden had posted a video of himself, same exact imagery, but pooping on like rural voters in West Virginia, or random folks walking around or protesting in Kentucky. The messaging, we already went through this. I know our main show viewers, this is going to be a little redundant because I know this was a big part of our weekend messaging, but it kind of connects to the Levitt terrorist remark, which is MAGA has become so comfortable with expressing, MAGA leaders that is, utter disdain for anyone who's not MAGA, while they say that a part of the reason it's okay to be radical in the ways that they are is because they felt disrespected by liberals. But how can you be offended being disrespected by liberals or looked down upon by liberals when the White House spokesperson is saying the main constituency of the Democratic Party are terrorists and Trump is literally shitting on liberals? not figuratively. So then Harry's sister responded, who was the subject of that video, saying, "Can a reporter please ask Trump why he posted an AI video of himself dropping poop on me from a fighter jet? That would be great, thanks." And JD Vance responded, saying, "I'll ask him for you, Harry." To which Harry responded, "Just add me to the Signal chat. I'll ask him myself." Hey!
What the hell happened to JD?
Very good. Very, very good. So then there's so many other things to look at because there was some no kings derangement syndrome for sure. Mike Johnson, who had spent the entire lead up to this protest saying it was a Hate America rally, got asked this.
Senator Johnson, you say that the Democrats had a...
While we continue through this segment, as always, remember to make sure that you are subscribed.
Hate America rally. But what does it say that the President of the United States over the weekend released a video of him pooping on the American people?
The President uses social media to make a point. You can argue he's probably the most effective person who's ever used social media for that. He is using satire to make a point. He is not calling for the murder of his political opponents, and that's what these people are doing. I mean,
yeah. So he picked out. I saw someone say millions of protesters were around the country. If you had to pick one image that was representative of the overwhelming message, it would be American flags with messages something to the tune of "We're against authoritarianism," with fun little quips, maybe a little remark about Trump's neck, different, but mostly a very patriotic anti-authoritarian message. If you're just honest and you look at the swath of the imagery, if millions of people show up, just like you see at right-wing protests, certain individuals will pick bad signs or bad messages. And all he could find were 4 signs. Now, at this instance, I can't really read them. I'm seeing an 8647 and I'm assuming something about dead fashion. So yeah, bad, denounce, don't say anything violent, obviously. But for you to act like that was representative of the nationwide protest is just dishonest. And you haven't come to terms with yet, Mike, the fact that you were wrong. This was not a Hate America rally. Everything about the broader message and the speakers was in the interest of a love for America. Not in the silly, that's a nice thing to say type of way. Genuinely. That's what people were saying, that the reason they're at those protests is because they don't like what's becoming of America, and they only care because they love America. But then his response of, he's using satire. We've learned that through history, sometimes comedians, they can take really tough subjects and evoke a sense of understanding through humor. And I think the message with the sort of the poop with the plane is kind of about income inequality. But he's doing it. It's like, no, that's not. And you would be so dang outraged if the roles were reversed and Biden were posting videos of him crapping on any of his political opponents. Trump also posted this, hyping up Meloni of Miss Italy.
Yo soy Georgia. Soy una mujer. Soy una madre. Soy italiana. Soy cristiana. No me lo pueden quitar.
This is the same person that he turned around to in the Middle East and was like, "I'm going to lose you can lose your career for saying this, but you're so beautiful. You don't mind me saying that. Wow, so beautiful." And he's posting hype videos for her. It's just strange. Really, really strange. There was a lot of controversy over this video of a protest where they, in California, made a human sign. So thousands of people lining up so that it spelled no kings, yes on 50, being Prop 50 to do the response to the Texas gerrymandering in California. And a lot of MAGAs were responding going, wow, I can't believe they had to go dig up a video from 2017 to prove that their protest was successful. And there was even a community note that said that this is not from this protest. Now, first of all, a little critical thinking. I did run it through an AI thing to make sure it wasn't AI. Otherwise, why would they be saying yes on 50 in 2017? And then it ended up being verified that it was from this protest, but still many of them are running around calling that video fake. And then I know they think they're trolling, but Team Trump was posting videos, AI videos of Trump dressed as a king. It's kind of like, we're getting mixed messages here. Trump's saying, I'm not a king, but then you're posting him literally dressed up as a king. Seemingly contradictory. Another message you heard a lot from maybe young guys was, these libs are out there protesting. We're watching football. And someone said a leftist's head would actually explode if they experienced this. And it was beer, cigarettes, and not the largest TV. I think we can find a larger TV out there. But the funny thing is, I saw here, Jared said, nah, I do both. Aggies are 7-0, by the way. Yay for Jaden. Jaden's an Aggie. And we actually can say the same thing. We went to the Aggie, it was like an Aggie bar to support Jaden. Cole wore a Texas Longhorn hat and got some dirty, dirty looks. But you can do both. I think being patriotic, and even if MAGA disagrees with our characterization, our belief is, correctly, that Trump is an authoritarian and acting in authoritarian ways. And so nothing's more American than going to a protest, expressing that, using your First Amendment that's under attack, and then watching football. MAGA's head would explode if they saw the fun we had that day. They'd not be able to believe. Ever since I went to Ukraine and went into a bar and just accidentally said a Moscow Mule, because that's just like a drink that I like, but I wasn't even connecting the dots of Moscow, and it did not go over well, understandably, and I corrected it, Kiev Mule. Now I go to bars here and I don't know what to order because I want a mule, but they're like, what type of mule? I'm like, a Kiev Mule. They're like, what? Moscow Mule. But you would not understand the joy of making your voice heard, seeing your fellow patriots out there, and then sipping on a Kiev Mule and watching a football game. And A&M won and Texas won. Then, let's see, we're going to charge forward. You saw Stephen Chung responding to Doug Emhoff at a No Kings protest, saying, no cucks. All right, Stephen. Okay. And then I saw a Trump supporter went to a No Kings rally and really wanted to be verbally accosted, I think. But then she wasn't, because people were being respectful. And then she made fun of the fact that no one verbally harassed her. Like, she was and you see this a lot, like that dude, you remember we showed on a plane, and it's like, I love the convicted felon. He's like this. And no one's saying anything to him. You can tell he's kind of butthurt because he wanted a contentious interaction. Same thing with her. She went in a MAGA hat to a No Kings protest, wanting some hostility. No one paid her any attention, and then she made fun of that.
Hey, this is not my Athens.
No kings.
Not my Athens. We didn't have this back in the day.
Put the faggots on campus.
Is this serious right now?
Yes, they are.
So then,
Hey, this is not my Athens.
Tiffany posted, hi y'all, I went to a No Kings rally today wearing my MAGA hat in Athens, and guess what they said to me? Absolutely nothing. They didn't know what to do when the Savage pulled up. It was awesome. And Trump 2028, which you can't make a joke about this No Kings protest is worthless and then go Trump 2028. Hey, that's our point, that you want him unconstitutionally to be in power longer than he's allowed. But then she tries to make the thing she's mocking the fact that no one was disrespectful to her. That's what she wanted. She wanted to walk in and for them to go, you suck, MAGA's terrible. No one paid her any attention. So then she says, that's proof that they're what, weak? Guess what they said to me? Nothing. She already had written the first part, She had already pre-written. Guess what they said to me? And then she wasn't able to get any content. Nothing. Losers. They're so respectful to people who disagree with them. Ugh. Travis Akers said, President Trump posts an AI video of him dropping feces on American citizens. The White House press secretary replies to a reporter, your mom. The vice president laughs at jokes made by 20 and 30-year-olds. They're kids. About rape, gas chambers, and Hitler. How can anyone stand by this? Pretty bonkers week, eh? Then Mike Johnson again.
It's glad to be with you. Thanks.
So let's start with the No Kings rallies. You called these Hate America rallies. What do you mean by that?
Well, that collection of folks that I listed were certainly part of it. We congratulate them on a apparently violent free speech exercise. I was a First Amendment lawyer for 20 years. We defend that right. But the irony of the message is pretty clear for everyone. If President Trump was a king, the government would be open right now. If President Trump was a king, they would not have been able to engage in that free speech exercise out on the mall, by the way, which was open because President Trump hasn't closed it. In the last shutdown, 2013 era.
What is this messaging? No. Okay, whatever. First of all, he goes, congratulations on a violent free protest. You said that wasn't going to be the case. You got to admit that you're wrong, brother. And then it's, if Trump was a king, things would be better. If Trump was a king, the government would be open. Yeah, no. That's your horniness for him to be more authoritarian is a part of our problem. And no one's saying he's a king. We know he's not a king. It's saying, no, I'm not explaining it again. Do you remember our history? It's just about opposing authoritarianism, but a cool reference to history. Actually, I think the reason they said it that way was so that it was utterly clear. We're even referencing our founding to make sure you know this is about being pro-American. Lisa McClain was Lisa McClaining it up.
You brought up the No Kings rallies. We saw some of those protesters. We've seen videos. These are rallies across the country. And they were speaking out on many issues that they say threaten democracy. Before them, you called them the Hate America rallies.
This is always in their interviews. While the person's laying out the question, there's just like little peeps.
Before they say threaten democracy. Before them, you called them the Hate America rallies. Do you really believe that the approximately 7 million attendees who participated this weekend, according to the organizers, hate the United States of America?
Well, look at what they're standing for. They're standing for communism. They're standing for anti-Semitism. Just take a look at the rallies, right? This is the party of law. The Republicans are the party of law and order. We don't believe in anti-Semitism. Take a look at the speakers that they have at the rally.
The vice president just downplayed the Hitler chats. Okay. She didn't even make her point. She was like acting as if she were on Fox and they already laid out some false narrative. She's like, here's the beautiful thing. Republicans don't stand for anti-Semitism. They don't stand for communism. It's like, who said that the No Kings protest did? What are you talking about? You didn't lay that out yet. My goodness. And then Mehdi Hasan, I played you that clip earlier of him saying that Trump, I can't, I'm going to botch it, but two of Trump's three wives were immigrants. His mother was an immigrant, father was an immigrant, proving once again that immigrants do the jobs that Americans don't do. Something like that. It was funny. I botched it. But someone named Savannah responded, denaturalize and deport to the American citizen Mehdi Hasan. Denaturalize and deport is the response, to which a sort of, I would say, center-right But much more principled, conservative Brad Palumbo said, so much for free speech, huh? An American citizen criticizes the government, and in response, you want to strip him of his citizenship and deport him? Not only is that certainly unconstitutional, illegal, but it's totally at odds with an actual support for free expression or open debate. And then Brad notes that he disagrees with Mehdi on 90+% of issues. So credit there. I saw Fox was saying, I don't want to spoil it, but I kind of do, that the left is not protesting against a king. They just want a leftist king. But take a listen to who they think the left wants as their king. If we agree, which we don't, that the left wants a king.
Administration went ahead and designated Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization because it signals that they are trying to get to the bottom of that funding as well. This isn't just a rogue group of actors. It's being organized, it's being coordinated, and most importantly, it's being funded.
All nationwide protests have to be. Where do you think they get the money for the stages?
And the question that we need to ask ourselves is, I think, correct, what Lydia asked earlier, which is, what is this really all about? And I think in particular, this No Kings protest, regardless of who it's backed by, it's not in opposition to a king. It's actually advocating for a leftist king. That's what they want. They want.
Ready? Do you know who she's going to say? Ready?
Someone like Joe Biden. So, they want that back. And I think that's really what we need.
The No Kings protesters, it's not that they don't want a king, it's that they want a King Joe Biden. I would pay you lots of money if you could find me one human being on planet Earth who wants Joe Biden to be the king. Did you see what Democrats did to Biden? Did you see? He went out there. He said, what was it he said?
We finally beat Medicare.
And they put him into a catapult and catapulted him into space with Elon's rocket. I don't know, but powerful Democrats and the Democratic base were like, boom, which is not what you do whenever you want someone to be a king. There was 1 minute in all of history where some Democrats said, all right, give him the kingship.
Please welcome the son of Balanar and the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
And that was mostly because of the architecture and the lights and the pyro. It had very little to do with the Biden. But something is so funny, dishonest, obviously, but funny about going, oh yeah, well, maybe we want a king, but you do too. You probably want Joe Biden to be your king. I've never seen a party go from united around an incumbent president to Joe Biden, who's spot? Joe who? Who are you talking about? In a shorter period of time than what Democrats did with Biden. And I wish more people acknowledge that. Yes, there were a lot of problems with how it was all handled, of course. But whenever people act like his candidate struggles weren't taken seriously, maybe not early enough, fair, but would y'all have ever done that to Trump right before the election? No. Your guy, I don't have to go down the list, but the court case is being liable for sexual abuse, him trying to overthrow an election, him being convicted of felonies, though that's at least as concerning for a candidate being on tape saying, I grabbed him by to dump them as we beat Medicare. I would prefer the we beat Medicare than the list of things that Trump has that makes him, aside from the morality, obviously, there's a huge difference there. But even just the strength of a candidate, there's a list way longer than Biden's even of reasons Trump would never be a viable candidate. And he turned out to be, but why he was a terrible candidate. And the Republicans didn't dump him for it. So that was one of the most ridiculous points I've ever heard. Another one was like the Democrats account posted no kings today nationwide, and Markwayne Mullen just posted the election results. Yeah, we know he won the election. What does that have to do with anything? You win an election. You know, a lot of people who have consolidated power and become much more authoritarian over their time in power won elections to get into power. Happens a lot, Markwayne.
Give me a joke.
Then, I went on Brian Callen's podcast, and I'd consider Brian a buddy. And then he was calling us losers. Or I think Joe Rogan.
Yeah, political cause thing. Yeah, all those people that are protesting on the streets, 99% of them are losers. The other ones work for the Fed.
I have a whole joke about that. It's like fucking, if
it's FBI agents and losers. That's all it is. The whole fucking every protest, dude, is FBI agents and losers.
I talk about this all the time. I'm like, for me, you want me to join a protest? You want me to get out on the street? First of all, to make a sign? The fuck out here. And then
you don't have to make the sign. There's a guy with a van who's paid by George Soros.
Yes.
I feel so betrayed. If you go watch my interview with him, it was like, woo. He definitely vibed with a lot of what I was saying. Yeah. Come on, Brian. 99% are losers. Unbelievable. Okay, another weird... Can you pull up Virginia Fox? Just Virginia Fox, pull up an image of her. A phenomenon is some of these... And it's great. I love older members of Congress kind of getting more hip on social media. But I also can tell when it's a 22-year-old intern... Excuse me. Who's writing their social media posts. And that's definitely happening with Virginia Fox. Do you ever... Just Virginia Fox, right? All I would say is she maybe has learned social media stuff. I get it. It's great. We love it. And I know this is an intern. And it's like a weird imagery of Virginia Fox being like, shut up, losers. So Democrats said no kings in America. She said, Donald J. Trump is your president. Cry more, losers. Put up Virginia again. You think Virginia Fox, like in her life, she's like, cry more, losers. That's not how she talks. Let's be honest. And then she said, take a hike. No. Hello. I am one of you, high schoolers. And then she said, boo-hoo to Trump. People being upset that Trump was posting, or the Trump War Room was posting images of him with a crown on. Which again is just is a weird contradiction to say I'm not a king and then posting a bunch of images of you looking like a king. And then Pete Hegseth, I think this is he in there? Yeah, he was taking a little joyride over the weekend, which seems to be a large portion of his time in office is just, yeah, look at that.
No more dudes in dresses.
Yeah, it's that and taking himself on little joyrides. You have shrapnel hitting California patrol cars escorting Vance at a military event because of some thing they were doing, some show of force that they were putting on for Vance. Part of law enforcement squad protecting Vice President J.D. Vance was accidentally hit by an artillery shell during a military display. Yikes. Newsom called it reckless. So I've admitted before when I see like big planes flying and big American military, like there's a cool imagery to it, and the obsessiveness with that as they try to politicize that military can't be overlooked. Then Steve Bannon amid all these protests, man, this is quite the segment. Goodness gracious, was with Tucker Carlson saying, I think we're almost to the point of civil war.
So that's we're heading towards a civil war. I don't think there's any doubt. We look at the indices out there, and these are unbridgeable divides right now, and getting deeper. And the Democratic Party is getting more and more radical. Look, everything we're dealing with right now.
Meanwhile, the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, and Chuck Schumer's like, "Hey, can we raise the healthcare, or can we extend the healthcare subsidies so prices don't go up a lot on people's healthcare? You Marxists."
Is about illegal aliens, whether it's they want to spend $1 trillion on their health care, whether they're demanding a census that counts them.
Go, Steve, go look. You find the numbers and prove to me that what Democrats are trying to get. You mean to say that of the over $1 trillion that Trump's cutting from Medicaid, that's going to kick a bunch of American citizens off of their coverage, that all of that money, if it weren't cut, which is what they're trying to reverse, is going to undocumented immigrants who are banned from federally enrolling in Medicaid? It's just such a weak, flimsy talking point. Another thought, look at Tucker and Steve here. Just take a look. Just look. Tucker of bow tie fame back in his heyday, of Zen fame, and not like the epitome of an athlete, we'll say. And then Steve Bannon will just, we get it. So, and this is all just to make a different point, which is, can we stop with this civil wars around? Are you going to go fight a civil war, Steve? Tucker, in your bougie little house in Maine, Tucker? Pfft, you're going to go fight a civil war. There's more jokes that I would make that I'm not going to, because I have a principle on not making certain types of jokes. But I don't think Steve's getting up off his ass to go fight a civil war. And I'm sick and tired of people who are rich and who are in bougie scenarios who would never skip Netflix night and a DoorDash order to go fight a civil war, rousing up their followers who probably would to think we're headed towards a civil war. So let me just say, as someone who, I'm not fighting a civil war. I'm not going to. All of you, we're not going towards a civil. That's not happening. We're not doing it. That's not an option. We've had grave differences in the past. We have them now. We're at a very intense place. The solution is not war. And really think to yourself, Steve. Imagine Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson in the bitch battalion. If I don't want to fight a civil war. If I was forced to, please make sure I'm going up against Steve and Tucker in that clash. Okay? But it's just dangerous rhetoric. It's all for the clickbait and the, it's so stimulating. So let me say, as someone who also relies in some way on stimulation and clickbait just being on platforms that prioritize that, that's not in the cards. We're really divided. It's really scary. That's not where we're going. We're going to find a democratic, peaceful, political solution to this moment's problems.